So, so I wanted to talk just about a couple of things today, and they came straight out of the work that I've been doing with my customers. And, we've noticed definitely, I don't know if you guys have, but email and webinars, people are so fatigued from the constant onslaught. And especially, if your audience is VARs, how to get their attention and how to stay in front of them. We created for one client of mine, we did a what they're calling everboarding, and it's starting from it's almost like an onboarding of a customer, but it's more of everboarding for a prospect. And it doesn't matter what kind of prospect you're working with. And so we did 5 steps and 5 stages of the buying process for them. And so the first thing that this this partner, they get a coffee mug and an instant coffee, Starbucks coffee, and it goes along with the demo. So when they get ready for the demo, they've got this in hand. They're like, "Oh, have some coffee to go along, some strong coffee to keep you awake for our pitch, right? Have a little fun with it." Um, and then the second thing they get, because we are putting this towards a move to the cloud campaign. So we got this cloud wrist rest. And so that's the second thing that they get after they've had the demo, is like, take a little pressure off and move your hands to the cloud before you move your business to the cloud. And so we've got 5 different steps, and one of them is a 30-second dance party. We had a little fun with it. But everything's branded and everything goes with a stage of the buying process. And we've had really great reception. One, it gets people talking, and it's unique and it's different, and it should be different for everybody, what you send and when you send it. But it took us out of email land and even out of webinar presentation land. So that's one thing we're doing this working. We had another partner that did a series of really in-depth videos, excuse me, about their specific research on their customers and therefore your prospects. So they did really an A to Z and split them up into bite-sized segments and then put them out to everybody. We did an unexpected content. So that's another area, most webinars are like, hey, how to process this or how to do that or how to compare, even, shootouts and that kind of thing. But we did a couple of really unexpected topics. One was just like, should I stay or should I go from what I'm currently on? That was this last week. We had 135 people register for it, and we had 118 actually attend.
Wow.
So yeah, which is unheard of. And
Yeah.
we didn't do anything really outlandish for the promotion of it, but it was the tapping into everybody's fear about this product ending and about what they were going to do next and all of that. So if you can find something in your individual world that does that, and then on top of that, I know we're in a digital world and we're all disparate and don't necessarily have concentrations of customers in one spot, but I'm seeing a resurgence of in-person short workshops. So whether it's, a breakfast or a half day, we're seeing people have good success with getting your customers or your prospects together. It's harder to get prospects, but if you get a couple of customers, especially if you do something your audience is VARs. So, and part of this next conversation that we're having is about how to get their attention and, helping them do this. Most of ours are not great at events. The heavy, the heavy lifting. I see some smiles of recognition. So, I definitely understand that from my experience. It's not where we live and breathe, where you guys do it all day long in the ISV space. So, helping them get those off the ground and being their sponsor and taking a little bit of the investment off of them, I've seen very good results with that recently. In terms of like how to get their attention and not be a pest, something that I valued always was when they would do something for me without being asked. So whether it's a piece of content, a blog article, a recommended tool, something that shows you're thinking of them. And that's where I think a lot of ISVs missed the mark with me was they didn't really know my VAR practice very well. And so they would just scattershot. And I understand that, you're trying to work at volume, but getting traction, especially with somebody who's been, ignoring you or not receptive, how well do you know it? How well do you know them as a company and what they focus on? And how well do you know their internal team? If you're only working with one person, I don't know if you ever saw Jeff Ashley's little matrix of the 9 spots that you're supposed to fill in for every prospect. I'd say you cut that in half, maybe you have 4. Make sure that you have at least 4 people at that organization that you've gotten to know a little bit, and flesh out your profile of that VAR. That way you know what is valuable to them. Help them be visible. VARs notoriously do not have a good SEO presence. They are not found. They tout the same 5 things as their differentiators, so they're not super well versed in SEO and all of the other marketing standards that you guys probably have a lot better experience with. So help them get some visibility, whether it's a publication like you were just talking about, or press, or a press release, or something like that is value add and they don't have to do a lot of heavy lifting. Send them something non-ISV related. I used to love I have some great relationships with people from ISVs just because they did that a couple of times to me. And so then I started to get to know them, and I'm much more likely to pitch them to my team if I actually know them as a person as opposed to an ISV. So the one thing that I've seen perform better than anything that we've done is send them a success story from another VAR, because they're always asking me, oh, what is everybody else doing that's working? Mm-hmm. So they want to know what the other people are doing. So if you send them something, one, it shows, proof that you guys are doing work with other people they respect, and gives them a little bit to bank on, and gives them some proof if they're going to take this up the food chain. And then stop by in person. I know that's a little harder to do when you're nationwide and you have to travel, but you can conglomerate at an event. You can make a study or other magnets. I know there's a staffing company that does a salary survey that they have to hand out every single time they go to an event. It's very well received because he's done all the heavy lifting. So I'm sure most of you have something like that to do it. It's really just like out of the box thinking for webinars and emails. Is the same thing with VARs, is they're not, incredibly difficult to understand. They're pretty much the same from one to the next. They have the same issues, they have the same problems, and they're all, like everybody on this call, they're all insanely busy, and anything you could do to make their life a little easier is well received. So and I'm working with 2 of them right now, and both of them have tried that, sending them case studies, success stories from other ones, saying, hey, we're working with PC Bennett or somebody else that and suddenly they'll take my calls, right?
Yeah.
So, all right. Then we were talking a little bit about what the latest and greatest tools are. And I could go crazy with tools. I don't know about anybody else, but Jen always tells me to pull it back here and there on the tools. But do you guys use SparkToro at all?
SparkToro?
SparkToro. No. So it's created by Rand Fishkin, who was actually the creator of Moz. So, and he's a genius, but it's actually an audience profiling tool. So if you know who your audience is and you want to find out what they consume and where they hang out digitally, you cannot beat SparkToro. So it's Spark and then Toro.
Are you going to have to send me a list of everything?
I will send
I'll include it with the recording for everybody. But
send you a cheat sheet. SparkToro, Rand Fishkin, and I would highly recommend it if you follow him on LinkedIn and do his whiteboard 5-minute Fridays are very valuable. I try and get to them every chance I get.
Thanks, Dubin.
And then I've just discovered SEO Wind.
SEO Wind.
SEO Wind, and it's AI driven, of course, because everything now is AI and more AI, but it's AI driven way to find keywords and hooks that will perform in your content. So you toss in your keywords, you analyze it, and you can build an outline in minutes. So I have a 3-step process that I've been using, and I start with SEO Wind with my keywords, and then I go to Chat GPT and I enter in those top level keywords and subject ideas, and I ask for 50 plus subtopics. So I take that and I do a map, and then I use Byword, so BY word,
Mhm.
to create a first draft in minutes from those previous 2 steps. And so it takes content creation, really good content creation, down to a couple of easy things. And I think the price is negligible. You could try everything for free, of course, but 50 bucks maybe. So for an investment. And then I know everyone probably uses Google Analytics, but I have always found it so painful. I don't
Mhm.
know about anybody else. So I switched to Uber Suggest. It's by Neil Patel, who is a marketing guru. And I find it so much simpler to use and understand. And I think my monthly investment is, 49 bucks for my level. They have other ones, but it just makes metrics gathering a whole lot easier. And he's also somebody extremely interesting to follow. There's tons of good stuff that he gives away for free. So, um, which I love. That's my tool belt
I like
for
it.
now. I could come back and talk about 8 more, but I won't. Um, then I think the last thing that we really wanted to talk about was buying in the age of the millennial customer or prospect. And I'm sure you guys have done some of your own research and come across this on your own, but we did a really in-depth study for one of my ISVs, and they went through and found, what do they want? So they found out, you know, it is astonishing. Almost 100% of millennial buyers want a completely rep-free buying experience. So now in our industry, that's probably not feasible to be 100% rep-free, but as much as you can automate the content and the purchasing process online, you're going to grab their attention. They want innovation, they want efficiency, and they want good UX. They don't have patience for clunky websites and non-integrated stores, and the purchasing process has to be seamless and smooth. And they want to be able to provide feedback when they have it. So if they've got a problem, you need a chat window. You need something that they can address and ask questions really quickly. Um, they it's funny when you look at the numbers, got a few stats um, about how many of them are out there. Like they're the single largest piece of the workforce right now. They've etched out us and the baby boomers, so it's growing. Um, and it's funny to me that we all think that our stores and our experience is great, but well, the research says 53% of us believe that our business website is functional and we've got great self-service. Only 15% of customers agree. So obviously there's a huge gap in what we're providing. Um, and then on that same topic of, okay, well, I have a web store, I have a website, I have a place for my people to engage with my content and learn about my product. How do you know how well it's working? Do you analyze it? Do you ask your visitors? Do you do any kind of net promoter score, customer satisfaction, or the latest one, the customer effort score? I don't know if you guys have played around much with that, but the CES, usually it's one question that you can provide to people about how easy it was to accomplish the task that they just tried to do. And so that is emerging as a more important metric than even NPS. It should be used together in tandem because you don't want to completely alienate the whole experience, but you want to know, okay, when my customer or my prospects on my website and they're trying to do the thing they want to do and they encounter a problem, how am I learning about that? And am I learning about it just because I see people bounce off the site, or do I have a mechanism in place to monitor it and fix what's broken before it costs me sales? So, and I've got some materials I can share with the team on that because,
Oh,
like I
great.
said, we went down this rabbit hole pretty in depth, and it was fascinating. So, um, self-serve options, making sure that they've got a good experience, and keeping in touch with them, keeping in touch with your prospects and allowing them to have a vehicle. Because we know that repeat customers spend more than it takes to get new ones. Um, and I think the last thing we talked about or we put together for them was how do we listen to our customers and our prospects in general, and really getting a process in place to do that if you don't already have one. We got them these little cards that allow people to get reviews. You hand them the card and they put it under their phone and it pops up with the review site. And they answer a few questions and they click submit and you're done. So we kind of tried to automate the end-to-end experience for both prospects and customers.
That could be really helpful at a conference.
Oh my gosh. Yes. We can't wait to take it to the next conference because it's so seamless. It works like it's supposed to. And the person can fill out a review on their phone right there. So
Perfect.
yeah,
Is it a QR code or?
It is a QR code.
Okay.
Yeah. But everything is on the card, and it's a nice segue from having that personal conversation to having them. You can kind of script or ask them personal questions, and you can create whatever kind of review survey you want. It could be super short, or it could be a little bit longer. You can ask them for quotes. It's really flexible. So, but I'll include that too.
Awesome.
In notes.
Perfect. I appreciate it.
No problem. So that's really my buying in a millennial world, and making sure you're listening to your customers and giving them a rep-free experience if possible.
Any questions for Donna? Or have you guys used any of these tools she mentioned?
Yeah, I'd love to hear what's working for you guys.
You're all muted in case you're trying to talk.
Donna, appreciate your feedback. I've used none of the tools that you speak of. I am founder and sort of chief bottle washer and everything else. So just need to kind of lean more heavily on Amy for her assistance. But just kind of echoing, we had a summer intern, first year business student undergrad. And it was eye-opening working with him. Instantly kind of I said, go out there, look at the competition, see what's attractive in terms what's a shiny website and why.
Right.
Oh, it's because it had videos on it.
Yep.
And the videos have to be 1 to 2 minutes max. If it's more than 2 minutes, I won't even watch it. And he criticized 3/4 of our competitors because they had 1 hour videos posted on their websites. So ours was only 27 minutes, but yes, we also get chastised.
I bet. The attention span.
Kind of just any general advice about working with short attention span theater audiences.
Yeah, trust me. I don't know if you guys know Kent Richardson. He worked for Acumatica for a while on their enablement team, but he and I have gone round and round because he is the master of the long game when it comes to videos and talking and presenting and slide decks that are 150 slides long. So trying to get him to condense himself to a minute, yeah, I understand. But that's what they want. They want to consume everything instantly. And the person you're talking about, go ahead.
We had we did an outreach with a hired, in the field of AP, target audience for us. And so we reached out to a leader in that space, and her format is 20 tips in 20 minutes, and you're in and out of there in 30 minutes. And I was impressed with the registration as well as the length of time, because you get that go-to report at the end that shows you how long they stayed on, and all of them that not everybody that registered showed up, but everybody that showed up stayed on past 18 minutes. So I was I found that impressive. So that's a format. And again, it speaks to, you got to really button it up and, only a few more points and decide this is where, the consecutive pieces, for a prospect to follow at which point. So, there's the opening line and the opening, short video or the short context of the, and then they make up their mind from there on how engaged they're going to be. So again, it's all DIY. They
Right.
want that's from an end user perspective. I find that when I work with partners though, that as much as I can before they get on the call, and my reps can give me as much advance notice before the call, I can look them up and check them out.
Right.
Bring up the first thing when I'm sharing screen is I'm sharing their website. And
I like that.
instead of me showing them something of ours, I'm showing them what I see. And
Mhm.
I don't ever get any feedback, but I tell them, from a marketing standpoint, I share with them, what I'm liking about their website or what's going really well. And then that usually starts, well, this is what we're trying to do. And, so then I can really chime in, but I'm a career marketer,
Right.
settling into this fintech space. So I still got to weave all that together and make it work. But I usually find, because that's my interest, is their site, their message, how are you getting customers? And then I can introduce, well, this is how I can help you specifically. It's not always the same. And even though we have hundreds of partners, I have the same tools to work with, the same gadgets.
It's interesting. I had a call today with an potential ISV society member, actually, and they were asking me questions. And they're like, oh, we're working on our backdrop for Community Summit. And we were thinking about, do we talk about products, features, and functionality? Do we talk about our customer service? And I said, no, you talk about the customer. You talk about your audience. You don't talk about you. Like, it's hard to get into that mindset because we're so used to talking about all our, our stuff, which is fine. But there's a time and place, obviously, right? And then depending on where you are in the funnel, yes, that you eventually get to talk about yourself. But high level, top funnel, first, you want to talk about them. You want to address their pain points, their concerns. Why do they want to come talk to you? Basically.
Yeah.
So yeah. I don't know if they liked my suggestion or not, but
it's the KYC, right? Know your customer.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, that's something that they don't do very well.
And if you don't know your customer, then that's a whole nother story. And you have to even go way back now and do that.
Right. Well, and that's where
go on those sales calls, right? Go and listen to the sales requirements calls, whatever they do, the sales demos, the questions that they ask on a regular basis, ask support. Like, you want to dig into the whole other side of things so you know what they're asking, what they need help with, why they reached out to you in the first place. And that's the messaging that you use.
Yeah. Well, it's the same concept as that little matrix of the people that you talk to. You can't just be working with one person. You have to have a sampling and to get to know the customer. And we do a bad job, and we do a lot of guessing.
Mm-hmm.
We do a lot of assumptions on what they're interested in, what they like, based on what we think our product is going to serve.
Yeah. But I also was listening to a podcast episode. I don't know if anybody knows Jay Schwedelson, but he is the owner of subjectline.com. I actually had him on my podcast once, and he does two free virtual events a year, Guru events, which is coming up, I think, in October. Has a ton of great speakers on it. He's doing also a direct mail event too that I'm joining. So on his podcast episode, he had someone come on, and actually I think she was from Boston, or she's from around here, and talked about what should you be talking about in your messaging. And she said, so often we talk about what was it? Hold on, I have to go look it up now. So Keep going,
I'm the
Donna, and
same
I'll find
way.
it.
I'm the same way. I have to reference my
I have to
materials.
take notes or
but-
I forget.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. They knowing their customer.
focus on what they lose and not always on what they gain. On what you lose versus what you gain. So start, and I thought that was interesting. Like, tell them what they'll lose when not working with you, not what they'll gain, basically.
Right.
I thought it was
Right. It's a balance.
interesting.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we used to say it's a balance between share and scare.
Yeah.
Is you want to share with them the value, but you also want to, it's a little bit of a risk if you're not doing this right now. If you know, in a year from now, you look back, you could have saved, gained, etc. So it's always a balance between share and scare.
Yeah. And then also they talked about starting with the higher price, not the lowest price, because it's a lot easier to go down and not go up when you're talking to people.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I actually.
And so many people want to start with that low price because they want to get these people in the door, but then maybe that's not what they need. Maybe they do need more expensive price. And now I'm like, crap, well, I told them it's this, and now I got to tell them it's this. So totally makes sense. But when you actually hear it, it's just like, you need to hear, I guess you need validation, right?
Yeah, well, it's funny. It's actually called the anchoring effect, and it's I have a whole marketing psychology deck that I use that if you guys have a minute, I'll share a couple of slides.
So yeah, so I like to listen to a lot of podcasts. If you do too, it's called Do This, Not That.
Oh, nice.
So he just actually launched it, but he's very big in LinkedIn. He's very big in the social media world. And he's I know everybody's, as Donna mentioned, that everyone gets a lot of emails, but he is all about emails. So but if you do email right, it's effective. There's a way to do it wrong and there's a way to do it right. So yeah,
For sure.
Right.
Yeah, I have a couple of marketing psychology quick wins. The decoy effect. I don't know if you guys have seen this one before. Let me minimize this, but they did a Economist subscription example. So they had these three, and the center one is the decoy. So you could subscribe web only, or print and web. And obviously the print and web is what they wanted to get results on. So they had these three. When they had three on the screen, the print only got 0.
Wow.
So they're like, oh, well, why shouldn't we just remove it? Well, if you look, when they removed it and did just the 2 options, the print and web subscriptions took a dive completely.
That's crazy.
So the decoy serves as a reference point. Like, oh, okay, well, I get more. We're hardwired to play on that reference. Like, oh, something has to be better than something else. So the decoy effect was huge. And this blemishing effect, I'm fascinated by, and I need to try it out with one of my customers really soon. So it's this tendency we have to perceive positive information more when there's a minor negative included. So if you've been on Amazon and you see like for a book, I buy a ton of books, business books. And so they'll tell you in the top there, it'll say the positive review and the critical review. And that was so successful for Amazon that they did a study where some people were showed only a pair of hiking boots with only positive reviews. And then they were showed a pair with positive reviews and one minor critical review, and 20% bump in the likelihood of buying the boots if they were shown that critical review. So fascinating.
So you're hiding something if you don't have bad reviews, right?
Well, exactly. Like, you're human, right? And it gains trust. It's so definitely. And it can't be a terrible, it has to be a mild negative.
Yeah.
Like,
these are the worst shoes ever, I'm never buying them again.
Right. And it does work better on lower investment types of purchases, so that's okay. But then what you were just talking about is this anchoring effect. So we're predisposed to take what we see first, and so they had asked 2 groups to figure out without using a calculator what the products of these strings of numbers were. And the first group that started with the 8, 2250, second one 512. So even though they're the same string of numbers, because you see the 1 first in the second one, the result was much lower. So, and Steve Jobs did this with the iPad. He was had a crowd of 40,000 people, and or probably more than that, sorry, but he told them all about this new technology they had. He said, put $999 on the screen. He's like, what should we price it at? So he said the group said around $1,000. And so in marketing speak, that should be $999 so that it's a better received. And so then a couple minutes later, he slashes that number and he puts down $499. And he says, well, we reallocated and re-estimated what it took for us to produce it, and we can offer it for a lot less than we initially thought. And so at $499, people were like, oh my God, that's an amazing deal. But it's because they had that $999 in their heads already. So it's fascinating. And he literally sold 40,000 iPads that day from an audience based on that. So just fascinating to me, the different things that we do that we don't think we do, that we buy rationally, but we absolutely do not.
It's how I get my husband to take trips and
nice.
do stuff.
Oh, goodness.
Awesome.
Etc. There's a risk factor involved. Or we could do this and it could cost this, you know.
Yes, proper positioning of the numbers.
It's how I got a boat, I'll tell you that, because
that's awesome.
he was on the fence and I said, why don't we get a second dog? And he's like, I don't think we can, I don't know. Okay, well, let's just get a boat. Oh, okay, yeah.
Maureen, you definitely have a sales background.
He says that too. He's like, wait a minute.
I'm being worked, but I'm okay with it, right?
He was good with both too. So it's not like I'm making his life hard. I make his life great, but he still needs convincing. He's an engineer, so he needs like just a little push. So
love it. Marketing psychology at work.
Mm-hmm.
Love it. Any other questions for the group?
So curious, when we abused the intern, I was having I was reviewing the videos and taking a look at it, and really kind of realized that there's 4 distinct audiences that we have. We could use these videos. I'll just publish the link here. We could use these videos as a marketing tool for that Gen Zer who has no patience to look at anything, just wants to see more than a screenshot of the tool, go in and get a feel for it. I feel that these videos are probably inadequate from a training and support perspective. Might be useful to kind of repurpose for an experienced user who just needs to kind of have a refresher as to how to do something. But so I'm trying to kind of play around with, do I throw this in a support section or do I throw this in a product features section, or do I do both? Curious as to how many people are really kind of, I think traditionally a lot of us have had product features as screenshots and a whole bunch of paragraphs. Wondering how many people are aggressively going after transitioning to just video or heavily promoting.
I guess, and I can give you a little bit of a different spin on that, Zubin. If the feature, sometimes you can obviously want to do video, and if it's like say 5 features, then do 5 different videos and show each feature in a video so they're nice and short. If they're also, and then you can break it up. So like in social posts, you can do 1 video for each post and you have 5 posts and 5 videos. You can also put it in a blog and have it broken out by feature and a video, feature and a video. So that's a nice way to break it up. You can also do animated GIFs for features if it's something quick that you can show. That's another great way to do it. And again, can be included in blogs, can be included in social media. I've done that before. So there's really, I think video obviously is the way to go, but how can you make it as short as possible? And then you can leverage social, blog, whatever you want to be able to, email to be able to get it out.
Yeah, I think from the intern's perspective, still didn't want to have to be subjected to a blog
Okay.
and being spoon-fed information and with a whole bunch of fluff around it. He just wanted to kind of like get
So
right
then on
in.
social, you can just post one video at a time of each feature,
Yeah.
but
Alrighty.
redirect them to the website with all 5 of them or whatever it may be.
Okay.
Yeah, and both of my ISV current customers are investing heavily in video. Like they're not paying me to write blogs. So they want nice, polished intros and outros for their videos and super short, punchy content. Anything visual, infographics or carousels, everything is visual.
Yeah.
Graphics are smart, yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if I shared it with this group. We turned the production process sort of inside out. We traditionally were doing a video demo, and instead of trying to continue to stop and repeat, stop and do it cleanly and get the perfect first take, we would then go in and post and try to cut out the ums and ers and all that kind of problems in between. And then I read an article and kind of suggested this, and we kind of latched onto this year. Do the script first. So what we're doing is we're using text to speech with an AI voice, and we're laying down our script first. Then we play the script audio and then click through the application screens using the audio as our guide as to what we're supposed to be clicking on. And we can almost nail that on the first take. So getting our human speech out of the way, converting that to text to speech, and then reversing the process was really simplified what we did.
Like that.
Yeah, I started using that a couple months ago. Tool called InVideo, super inexpensive. Allows you to add in your own stuff. If you wanted to plug in a short little demo with no sound, you can have background music and a generated voice so you can tell I'm from the South, so my voice is impossible to record. It's not a good idea. So I love having the generated type voice, male or female or whatever, and then but it just moves. And to your point, creating that script first, and I find this works for my partners too, is to give them the talking points, because off the top of their head, they're going to go long. They're going to go real long, because if eventually they get around to their point, and then you're stuck with all this middle stuff. You don't know how to edit it out. So, but I like the InVideo tool. It cut through a lot of stuff, creating that script. And then you knew how much you had to work with, and you could create the layers, little background tune in there, a little, beat or whatever, sort of helps with the dull or the, dry moments. So I think it works really well to tell a point. It's nice for sponsorship videos too. It's really easy, for plugging into a different industry or something. They have all kinds of stock photos and stuff that you can use. Super
Can you drop that link in the chat?
And Canva does video too.
It does. Yeah. I'm not really great at Canva, but
Has anyone used Canva for video?
I have.
Before? Is it pretty?
I've also used it in the past. I think Canva can be a little bit more of like a pickup time in terms of like learning all the features, but once you know how to do it, it's pretty cool. Like you can do some good stuff with it. And even I think what their paid subscription for a year is like 30, 40 bucks. Yeah, I mean, like very small amount in comparison to some of the other platforms that you could use.
Yeah. And you can add music, you can add your voice. So
nice.
Yeah, you can do a lot with it.
Yeah.
We ran across another utility called Screen Run, and it just simply manages your zoom in and zoom out.
Oh, nice.
without having to monkey with anything else, without having to go to the full kind of Adobe Premiere experience of editing. It just kind of, you click on screen and it kind of jumps to that point, and then you just set the duration. So nice little utility. So you take your existing video and then kind of run that through post.
That's cool.
Yeah, I like it.
All right. Well, thank you all for joining me this month. I appreciate it. Thank you, Donna, for being my guest. And I'm excited to share this video with those who couldn't attend. And we'll get all the tools in that email and all the stuff that Donna covered today. And I'll be sending that out to you guys so you have it. And then, of course, if you need anything else, let us know. But appreciate you all being here. Appreciate you all being members. And I thank you so much for joining us this month for the monthly mastermind meeting.
Sure.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
guys.
Thanks,
Thanks.
everybody. Have a great weekend or week, I should say. It's only Tuesday.
Yeah.
I wish it was Friday, but no, it's only Tuesday.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you, Amy. Thank you, Donna. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks.